One fact for every episode of Miraculous, including the specials and movie. Follow me on X/Twitter and TikTok. Consider becoming a channel member if you have the means to do so. Subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get right into it. Despite The Bubbler being the first episode of the show to air in France, Stormy Weather is the first episode of Miraculous to air ever, premiering September 1st, 2015 in South Korea. The Bubbler is the first episode in the show where we can hear Adrian and Marinette's slow dance melody, even though this was played for Adrian and Chloe's slow dance. This episode gets an unholy amount of things wrong with ancient Egyptian history and mythology, but just to name one, Pharaoh states that he wants to revive his princess Nefertiti, when King Tutankhamun's actual wife was Queen Enkisenemit. Nefertiti was the late wife of Tutankhamun's father. The building Ladybug and Cat Noir are standing on when they're spying on Chloe is actually the Agreste mansion. If Alex were to win the race, it was said her reward would be Kim being prohibited from making dares for the rest of the school year. But in the Korean dub, Alex's reward would be Kim being her servant till they graduate. The tune Cat Noir is whistling before he starts dancing is La Marseillaise, which is the French national anthem. This is the only episode in the entire show where the theme used for Lucky Charm is different.
Lucky Charm! Lucky Charm!
When Tom is talking about his job, he mentions that he once had to make an Eiffel Tower cake. This is actually alluding to the cake he made for Nadia Shamak in Timebreaker. Inside the Louvre, we can see several banners advertising the Tutankhamun exhibit. This is the same one we see in Pharaoh. This episode is said to take place on Valentine's Day, but during the 2015-2016 school year, the year in which Miraculous takes place, Valentine's Day falls on a Sunday, meaning they never should have been in class in the first place. This is the only episode in season 1 in which Tiki does not speak a single word. When Julika mumbles nonsense in this episode, it's completely unintelligible in the French, English, and Korean dubs of this episode, but in the Spanish dub she asks for the ability to watch horror movies. The drama between Chris and Fred is similar to that of the Shakespeare play Macbeth. Furthermore, the situation is referred to as a tragedy by Hawkmoth, which is referencing one of the two main genres of plays, those being tragedy and comedy. While this episode contains many references to China and Chinese history, as Cheng Shifu is Chinese, Kung Fu's costume is akin to that of Goku from Dragon Ball Z, a piece of Japanese media. Even though Thomas Ashbrook exists in the Miraculous universe, he actually makes a cameo as the voice of the start menu for Ultra Mega Strike 3 in the French dub of this episode. This episode shows that the Miraculous have trackers that they can use, but this is the only episode where they are used. Master Fu can be seen in Le Grand Prix when Chloe and Sabrina interrupt Jagged Stone's interview dressed as Ladybug and Cat Noir. This episode contains a fourth wall break, as when Ladybug is walking over to grab a Paws Puppeteer's wand, she's whistling the show's theme, It's Ladybug. In this episode, Julika reveals she doesn't like cats, which is ironic considering she would later get the Tiger Miraculous. The name Guitar Villain is a play on the title Guitar Hero. Believe it or not, this is the first time I'm learning this. When Waze is seen sleeping inside the gramophone, the matchbox he's sleeping in has a cover depicting the Chat Noir, the first modern cabaret. Christina V, the voice actor for Marinette, said at San Diego Comic-Con that the umbrella scene is her favorite scene. This episode officially canonizes the ending episode theme for the show as an in-universe song played by Jagged Stone. Simon, the titular villain, is one of the few characters to only be akumatized once. He has never been re-akumatized, as he wasn't for Heroes Day, and he wasn't even in the game of villains Max made in Gamer 2.0, but he does make a reappearance in Star Train. In the Brazilian dub of this episode, everyone under Princess Fragrance's control refrains from singing, and instead they just speak normally. This was the last episode of Miraculous that aired on Nickelodeon. Out of all episodes with end cards, this is the first to have an end card missing both Adrian and Marinette. The advertisement that plays after Ladybug and Cat Noir leave Nadia's interview is an ad for Tsurugi Industries, 5 episodes before Kagami is even introduced. One of the pictures on Andre's ice cream stand is that of the famous French couple Marcel Cerdan and Edith Piaf. A bus with the Adrian the Fragrance ad can be seen, but for some reason, there's a version of this episode uploaded to the official Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian Miraculous Ladybug YouTube channels where this ad is missing. This is the first episode where Cat Noir straight up tries to cataclysm someone of his own volition, meaning he wasn't under any mind control. This episode has some similarities with a cancelled episode of Miraculous titled Le Gourmandger, which was about a child who grows bigger as he eats more sweets. This is the first episode of Miraculous where Alia does not make an appearance at all. The only kids from Marinette's class that aren't at her party are Chloe and Sabrina. That tracks, as in the webisode My Birthday Party, she says that she wouldn't invite them. In the French dub, the song played for Clara's music video is Lou and Lenny Kim's rendition of It's Ladybug, which officially canonizes that song in the Miraculous universe. This is the episode in which we find out Adrian's mother is named Emily through the Solitude opening credits. This episode shows that Hawkmoth can pull the top off his cane and turn it into a cane sword, but I don't think he ever does this again for the rest of the show. When discussing how to capture Sapodi's Akuma, Cat Noir says,
"So you mean we've gotta catch them all?"
which is an allusion to Pokemon with their motto of gotta catch 'em all. The face of Akumatized Albert is the co-director of this episode, that being June Violet. The French dub of this this episode is the only version that has an end card where Marinette's face is different. It is unknown why. Ignoring Marinette and Adrian, Miss Boustier's akumatization marks the point where everyone in Marinette's class has been akumatized. Gabriel tells Adrian that
We agrests are soloists.
which hints that there are other regress relatives, but this is not true as Revelation reveals Gabriel's real last name is Grisette, making him the first Agrest. The scene of Cat Noir giving a rose to Ladybug only for her to decline is very similar to this scene in the Ladybug PV. This episode marks the first appearance of Emily Agrest in her cryostasis chamber. This episode marks the first time Hawkmoth akumatizes one person more than once. Chloe would then go on to become the most akumatized person in the show with 9 total akumas. Reverser's mode of transportation being a glider that he stands on is similar to that of the Green Goblin, who is an enemy of Spider-Man, the character Ladybug is based on. Alia and Nino are playing a game similar to Just Dance, which is quite coincidental as the Miraculous theme It's Ladybug is actually a playable song in Just Dance Plus. Maledictator's design seems to be based on Napoleon Bonaparte, the first emperor of France and the greatest general in human history. This is the first episode in which Plague calls Tiki Sugar Cube. This is the first episode to not include a single use of Ladybug's Lucky Charm. Volpina's design in this episode was actually supposed to be Scarlet, like all other Scarlet akumatized victims, more akin to something like Hoaxer. When this Christmas special premiered in South Korea in February 2017, it was actually shown in theaters. This episode shares many similarities with Zombie Zoo, like Hawkmoth targeting Marinette, the villain's power involving kissing, Adrian and Plague talking in a locker, Adrian transforming in a locker, Cat Noir being dispatched by the villain, and Ladybug defeating the villain on the Eiffel Tower. This episode took 2.5 years to create, one of the longest in the entire show. Series creator Thomas Astruck has said that this episode is very special to him and that it gave him lots of emotions. The sign on this brooch means love in simplified Chinese, but because this sign wasn't used before 1956, this is technically an anachronism. This episode marks the first appearance of Dusu, the Kwame of the Peacock Miraculous. This episode shows Ladybug summoning Miraculous Ladybug without throwing her Lucky Charm into the air. There's a few remedies, but nothing has been explained, so this is just an error. This episode reveals that the Miraculous are ableist, as mutes wouldn't be able to transform, detransform, or summon their powers. Lila's horn growing bigger whenever she lies is a clear allusion to Pinocchio. This episode marks the first time someone managed to resist akumatization and reject an Akuma before they turned into a villain, that someone being Chloe. This episode reveals that the Miraculous tools have user's guides, but it's unknown if any Miraculous have read it after this episode. In the Italian dub of this episode, Anarcha actually says a swear word. Chrismaster is the first villain in the series to willingly hand over its akumatized object to Ladybug instead of the object being won in a fight or what have you. This episode was animated by Symbiosis Entertainment, but they were fired after this episode due to the animation being low quality. The only other episodes they animated were Bakerix and Backworder. These drawings Mendeleev shows of Tiki and Plague were actually drawn by Miraculous co-director Wilfred Payne's son. When Ladybug and Cat Noir are swallowed by Feast, Cat Noir says,
It's bigger on the inside.
which is a reference to a common line said by those who enter the TARDIS in Doctor Who.
It's bigger on the inside.
This episode holds the record for most akumatized villains appearing in one episode, that being 43 in total. This episode contains flashbacks to 27 previous episodes of Miraculous, crazy amounts of filler. This episode is the second time a piece of Miraculous media premiered in the US before anywhere else. The first time was Captain Hardrock. This is the first instance of an akumatized villain who was not akumatized by Gabriel Agrest. Party Crasher is the first villain to defeat both Ladybug and Cat Noir. He also manages to dispatch most of the Miraculars before King Monkey shows up and wins easily. The only season 1 villains missing a wax statue of them next to Waxybug and Wax Noir are Copycat, Animan, Horrificator, Stoneheart, Pharaoh, and Vanisher. The moon's appearance after Cat Blanc destroys it bears a striking resemblance to that of the Death Star in A New Hope. This episode marks 1 year since the death of Emily Agrest. Both the Lucky Charm summoned by Ladybug and the Senti Charm summoned by Sentibug are both recycled from previous episodes. The gun is from Maledictator and the fork is from Despair Bear. Ignoring the New York special, this episode marks the last usage of Ladybug's transformation theme that debuted in Stormy Weather. The theme is different from Truth and onwards. Miraculous story editor and writer Sebastian Thibodeau said at Japanese Expo 2018 that this episode moved the team to tears, and that he hoped that it would have the same effect on the audience. This is ironic, as Miracle Queen is one of the most universally hated episodes in all of Miraculous. This episode's end card marks the first time all 19 Kwamis of the Chinese Miracle Box are pictured all together. This episode was the last to be animated by DQ Entertainment, as they filed for bankruptcy following the COVID-19 pandemic. Other prominent episodes they animated include Oblivio, Felix, and Truth. This episode is the first time an akumatized villain rejects an Akuma. This was done by Alia. If you convert letters into numbers, like A being 1 and B being 2, then Ladybug becomes 12, 1, 4, 25, 2, 21, and 7. If you add those numbers up, it equals 72. It is unknown if this is intentional, but if it wasn't, then that's one hell of a coincidence. When Psychomedian bursts into Bob Roth's room, he exclaims,
Here's Harry!
This is a clear reference to this scene from The Shining.
Here's Johnny.
Speaking of references, the name Furious Fu is actually a reference to the martial arts group from Kung Fu Panda, that being the Furious Five. This episode's end card actually foreshadows many events involving Zoe in the future. The Purple Butterfly by Chloe alludes to her upcoming akumatization as Queen Banana. The Green Cat foreshadows her short tenure as Katie Noir in Transmission, and the Pink Hearts foreshadow her eventual crush on Marinette. This episode reveals that Thomas Astruc is an alumni of Francois Dupont. This episode is Natalie's first physical appearance in season 4. A lot of Milen's fears are revealed in this episode. Those include the fears of the dark, humidity, germs, protesting, mice, water, bees, and badges. This is the first episode where both Tiki and Plag are missing simultaneously. This episode marks the last time Cat Noir calls Ladybug Bugaboo until an episode way in the future. Don't worry, I'll remind you when we get there. This episode has the most amount of Senti monsters present in the entire show, those being Senti Alec, Senti Nino, Optigami, Adrian, and Kagami. This is the first episode of Miraculous to not feature a single Akuma or any variant of it. The codename given to Adrian by Marinette is Buttercup. This is the same codename she used for him back in Gigantitan. This marks the first time Alia uses a second Miraculous. This would have happened back during Style Queen if she wasn't turned into a statue. This also fulfills Marinette's initial candidate for Ladybug back in Origins when she put the Ladybug Miraculous in Alia's bag. This episode marks the first time Ladybug and Cat Noir do not destroy an akumatized object, as Nino rejects his Akuma. Despite being cut from the episode, there is an accompanying 2D drawing for the man with the red beret's dream of wanting to become a Dino Huggy. This episode reveals that Roland has a VHS tape of the 1998 World Cup, a World Cup in which France won. Thomas Astruc has stated that this episode was going to have themes of racism as it was written during the Yellow Vest protests in 2018. This episode shows Tiki using her powers without a holder for the first time, and we get a glimpse at her true form an entire season before we see it unobscured in the final day. This is very famously the 100th episode of Miraculous and has so many allusions to the number 100 that I'm not gonna list them all. The little girl controlling Kuro Neko is Rhythm. This character is actually based on a girl who visited Zag's studio via the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where she designed a character of herself. This episode very famously gets Adrian wrong, as he says he doesn't know how to play soccer despite clearly knowing how to in Furious Fu, even shouting goal when he scores. This episode actually marks the beginning of a pentalogy in the show titled The Rise of Monarch. This starts with Risk, followed by Strike Back, Evolution, Multiplication, and ends with Destruction. This is the first time since Stoneheart in which Gabriel sends out a message through his Akuma speaking. This is the first episode in which no one is akumatized nor amicized. This episode reveals Felix's last name is Fathom and marks the first time Colt Fathom is referred to by name. Ladybug completely misunderstands Miraculous Ladybug, as any Lucky Charm can fix any damage as shown in Derision, and the length of time doesn't matter as shown in Beast. This episode bears many resemblances to DC's For the Man Who Has Everything comic. If you haven't read it or seen the Justice League Unlimited episode that's based off, then you should go watch it. It works as a self-contained story, so you don't need any setup. In case you want a reminder of the Resistance codenames, here you go. Nino is Comrade Ketchup, Adrian is Mayo, Alia is Beer Mater de Hotel, Marinette is Bechamel, Gabriel is Tartar Sauce, Max is Bernays, Kim is Burgundy, Rose is Cocktail, Julika is Grand Veneer, Ivan is Aioli, Milen is Grabiche, and Lila is Sweet and Sour. Manipula apparently has a statue of Bunnix, even though Bunnix is not a publicly known hero. She's only known to Marinette's class, evident by Prem's questioning of who she is in the Dark Castle. The line,
I'm not even an influencer!
was improvised by Bryce Papenbrook, Cat Noir's voice actor. This is the first episode of season 5 to not be named after the concept of a Miraculous, as the last 7 were named after the concepts of the rabbit, mouse, cat, pig, fox, ox, and goat Miraculous respectively. This episode features a cameo in the English dub by Alexandra Forty, who is a longtime fan of the show. She voices this blonde girl who wants a selfie with Cat Noir. This is the first episode in the entire show where Marinette does not transform into Ladybug. However, this is only the 3rd episode in which Adrian does not transform into Cat Noir, the previous 2 times being in Style Queen and Mr. Pigeon 72. Marinette wears her same disguise from Feast, except she's now colored it to look more like her Ladybug costume. Adrian's love song to Marinette was never dubbed in Mandarin, meaning in that version of the episode, it is left entirely in English. This episode marks Bob Roth's last appearance in season 5. He isn't seen again until Sublimation in season 6. The way Kim performed his prank against Marinette is actually the same procedure he did when trying to ask Chloe out. He got down on one knee with the intention to present jewelry. The password Tomoe shares with Gabriel is the Japanese phrase Kiseki no Shinjidai, which translates to a new era of miracles. Adrian prepares his picnic for Marinette in the exact same spot we see Gabriel and Emily doing the same in Evolution. Adrian even asks the same question as Gabriel, with both Marinette and Emily also giving the exact same answers.
Are you sure you're ready?
Yes.
In this episode, we find out the butler's name is Armand, this maid's name is Sophie, and Andre's real name is Anaximandre. Despite Felix's apparent contempt for Chloe, he makes the exact same dumb decision she does in Queen Wasp by revealing his identity to the public. Argo's idea of kidnapping Kagami coincides with what Julika suggested Marinette do in Backorder. This episode reveals many things about Gabriel's past, most notably his birth name being Gabby Grisette. This episode officially marks Julika's inclusion into the Akumatization Hall of Fame. She becomes the only character to be akumatized, amicized, and akumatized in a group, akumatized into a Scarlet version, and akumatized with a miraculous power. This is the first episode in which we see Lila's secret base in the Paris catacombs. This is the only episode in season 5 in which Nuru has a speaking role. This is the first episode in the show where Marinette and Adrian nor their counterparts interact in any physical or direct way. When Natalie is mustering up the courage to shoot Gabriel with her crossbow, Scarlet Moth's transformation theme is playing, which is the first time this theme has been used since his last appearance in Ladybug. This episode breaks the record of most miraculous characters in a single episode, set by Mayura, in which there were 54 total characters. This episode contains 74 total characters. This is the lowest rated episode in the entire show on IMDb, with 4.6 stars out of 10. This is almost an entire star below the one above it, that being Stormy Weather 2, with 5.5 stars out of 10. This marks the first episode in the entire series in which Gabriel Agreste is physically absent. Marinette claims that Gabriel akumatized 212 people in total in this episode, but the number of individual people akumatized is more closer to 76, and the number of total akumatizations counting off-screen ones is closer to 270, so Marinette's number is wildly incorrect. This episode marks another example of abnormal Lucky Charm behavior, as this summon labels Ladybug as the villain in the situation. Other examples of abnormal Lucky Charm behavior include no Lucky Charm, telling Marinette to go to Foo, or just being indicative of the future. The books Sabrina is holding here are real books, those being Homer's Odyssey, Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary, and Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. This episode contains the most Lucky Charms summoned by Ladybug in a single transformation and in one episode, that being 6 Lucky Charms. This episode marks Cat Noir calling Ladybug Bugaboo for the first time since Crocodile back in season 4. That's a total of 1,520 days between the two occasions. This episode marks the reveal of the Kingdom, a secret organization that both Gabriel and Natalie were a part of. Vampigami's dance moves are clear allusions to Michael Jackson's Thriller. During Chrysalis' sales pitch to Theo to try to akumatize him, she poses as very famous sculptures throughout history, those being August Rodin's The Thinker, Michelangelo's David, August Schlesinger's Woman Bitten by a Serpent, Antonio Canova's Psyche Revived by Cupid's Kiss, and Mattei Athena, whose sculptor is currently unknown. Armand d'Agincourt is revealed to be a count in this episode. This means he is of French nobility, which coincides with the history we learned about him back in Darkblade. This marks Vincent Ossa's second akumatization, making this the longest time between two akumatizations for one character, ignoring the time he was kidnapped in Gamer 2.0. This episode was released on October 10th, which is World Mental Health Day. This episode marks Cerese's first full appearance in season 6 by showing off her civilian form and her alter ego of Chrysalis. This is the first episode in the entire show where Tiki is completely absent, as she doesn't appear and isn't mentioned whatsoever. The Russian version of this episode has most of the LGBTQ aspects censored, like blurring pride symbols, entire scenes being cut, and the end card was zoomed in to not show Sunheart and Rainpiercer's kiss. Nadia Shamak's boss is given a new model, as when she appeared in this scene in Prime Queen, she was using Clara Cantard's model. Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, and Dana Terrace, the creator of The Owl House, both cameo in this special. In 2021, there was a French novelization of the Shanghai special released. This novelization revealed a cut ending in which Gabriel calls Natalie from his hotel room, and when she answers, it's revealed she's standing in front of a temple in the Amazon rainforest, setting up the Rio special. This special was initially called Miraculous World Paris, Into the Reverse, a clear reference to Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. The London special was initially planned as a two-parter, meant for the end of season 6, kind of like how Origins was to season 1, but the idea was scrapped for the sake of clarity heading into season 6. This episode was rumored to introduce a character by the name of Lady Tiger, but this did not come into fruition. It was then revealed that a character named Tiger Force would be introduced to the series, a character likely based off Lady Tiger. Sabine was voiced by Anne Yatko in this movie. Despite this, her previous voice actress Felice Sampler is featured in the end credits under cast. This is actually a posthumous credit, as Sampler voiced Sabine in the initial stages of the movie, but as rewrites occurred, Yatko would take over, as Sampler passed away in 2021. Rest in peace, Felice Sampler. As a really sad note to end on, but I thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you guys next week.